In this video, we will introduce the basic menu of the standard macrobiotic diet. The diet consists of 50 to 60% whole grains, 25 to 30% vegetables, 5 to 10% soups, 5% sea vegetables, 5 to 10% beans, and occasionally a small amount of fruit, nuts, seeds, and fish. This dish is a combination of azuki beans, butternut squash, and kombu, which is a wide and tall sea vegetable. We will start this bean dish first, because it takes at least 2 hours for it to cook. Azuki beans are small and shiny, and contain less fat and oil than most beans. First, thoroughly clean and wash the beans. Then soak the beans in hot water for a couple of hours or overnight.
2 cups. And 4 cups.
We use 2 cups of beans soaked in 4 cups of water. The taste of kombu complements azuki beans very well, and because kombu is mineral rich, the combination makes for a more balanced dish. First, clean and then cut into pieces. Place the pieces in the bottom of the pot. A thick cast iron pot is recommended for this dish because it makes for more even and careful cooking. Pour a small amount of the water that the azuki beans were soaking in over the kombu. Cube the squash. If it is unwaxed, like this one, you don't have to peel it. Place the cubes on top of the kombu. Adding sweet winter squash makes this dish even tastier. If the beans have been soaked overnight and have softened, place them on top of the squash. If they have not been soaked, the beans should be pre-cooked until they're 50% done. The order of the layers is essential to promote the harmony and sweetness of the beans and squash. Add just enough water to cover 4/5 of the beans. Hard sweet buttercup squash, for example, does not contain much water. However, if the squash you are using contains more water, use less in the recipe. Start cooking the beans on a medium-low flame. After about 10 to 15 minutes, put the drop cover on the pot and simmer. The beans will start to boil and expand. Occasionally, add small amounts of cold water, but never completely cover the beans. When the beans are 70% done, which will take approximately 2 hours, season with 1/4 teaspoon of roasted sea salt. Do not add any more water after you add the salt. Cover and finish cooking without mixing until the water has cooked away. Mix the beans and squash gently and spoon the mixture into a serving bowl. Among grains, brown rice, especially freshly hulled brown rice before cooking, is the most nutritious. In the United States, we recommend organic short grain or medium grain for daily use. Occasionally, long grain rice can also be enjoyed. There are many ways to cook brown rice. Here, we will introduce the most basic, the pressure cooking method. Pressure cooking is the quickest and most thorough way to prepare brown rice. This method makes the rice most digestible and brings out the natural sweetness. As is true when we prepare beans, the rice must be thoroughly cleaned and washed quickly in cold water. Place 2 cups of rice into the pressure cooker. Add 3 cups of spring or well water. 1½ cups of water per 1 cup of rice is standard. Heat the cooker over a low flame for 15 minutes until the water becomes warm. Add a pinch of salt for each cup of rice and cover. Cook over medium heat. If time permits, the rice can be soaked in water 3 to 4 hours or longer before cooking. If so, cook with a medium heat and cover the pot from the outset. When the pressure comes up, place a flame tamer under the pot to avoid burning. Turn the heat to medium-low and cook for 50 minutes. When the rice is done, remove the pressure cooker from the heat and allow it to stand for 5 minutes. Then remove the safety valve. Letting the rice stand for another 15 to 20 minutes will give the rice an even more peaceful energy and delicious taste. Nishime is one method of cooking vegetables, suitable when we want to cook large chunks of root vegetables slowly and gently. Sea vegetables, mainly kombu, increase the nutritional value, taste, and energy balance of this dish. Clean and soak 1 piece of dried kombu 2 to 3 minutes. You might like to try different cutting techniques, such as shredding and dicing. In terms of quantity of vegetables, 1 large piece of each vegetable per person would be appropriate. The next step is to slice the celery. Then, cut the carrots into nice, thick pieces. Now, slice the daikon radish. Shiitake mushrooms will be added to sweeten the dish. Sectioning off the individual ingredients in the pot gives the dish a beautiful and simple look and also makes serving easy. Add just enough water to cover 80% of the vegetables and use the water in which the mushrooms and kombu were soaking because this water contains nutrients. Set on low heat. Now, add 1 or 2 tablespoons of tamari soy sauce and cover. After about 40 minutes, when the carrots have become soft and the daikon radishes have become transparent, add the celery. When the dish is done, you might like to serve it with sauce. Although the light taste of tamari soy sauce is the basic seasoning for this dish, any variety of sauce can be enjoyed. Arame is a large leafy sea vegetable. After it has been dried and shredded, it looks much like a clump of wiry black threads. People who are not accustomed to sea vegetables at first may find the flavor, smell, and texture a little unpleasant. However, properly cooked with onions and carrots, arame is very appetizing, highly nutritious, and immediately enjoyed by newcomers. Rinse 1 cup of arame quickly in cold water. Rinse again. But do not soak. Because there is so much exposed surface, it is easy for the nutrients and sweetness to be lost. Save the second rinse water for cooking. Let the arame drain for 5 minutes. Cut the carrots into thin matchsticks. Cut the onions into thin half-moons. Heat up the frying pan and coat it with dark sesame oil. If you do not choose to use oil, use 3 tablespoons of water instead. Gently sauté the onions with a small amount of water, stirring occasionally until they become transparent. Layer the carrots on top of the onions. Next, layer the arame on top of the carrots, but do not mix. Pour 1/2 cup of water along the edge of the pan. And add 2 tablespoons of tamari for seasoning. Simmer for 20 minutes over medium heat until the carrots are 50% done. Mix gently. Cover the mixture for another 5 minutes.
Then we take out. Then we make a strong flame to all juice to cook down. For this time,
Boil away the excess liquid with a higher flame, then add a little more tamari to taste. Place the mixture into a dish and serve. Blanching is the most common way to prepare greens. Add a pinch of salt to 4 cups of boiling water. Now wash the greens, broccoli in this case, and place in a pot. The 2 most important things to remember about blanching are first, to keep the water boiling over high heat, and second, do not overcook the vegetables. If the greens are overcooked, they will not only become soggy and discolored, but most important, many of the nutrients will be lost. Separate the leaves from the stems. Put the stems into the boiling water first. Place the leaves on top. When the leaves have softened, remove them. The stems will need more cooking time because they're a bit thicker. Once cooled, you may cut and shape the greens, creating an attractive presentation. Serve with umeboshi dressing. Puree 1 umeboshi plum or 1 teaspoon of umeboshi paste with a half cup of water, using the water in which the greens were blanched as preferable. Now, grate fresh ginger root and squeeze the juice into the mixture. Pour the dressing over the greens and serve. Wakame, a long, thin sea vegetable, is used in miso soup. Quickly rinse a half a cup of wakame, then soak it in cold water for 2 to 3 minutes. When it becomes soft, cut it into small pieces. Soak the hard stems longer, also cutting them into pieces. Cut 2 medium-sized onions into thin half-moons. Heat up the saucepan and brush with a small amount of dark sesame oil. If you choose to omit the oil, as we did here, use 2 tablespoons of water instead. Sauté the onions over low heat until they're transparent. Now, cut the tofu into small cubes. When the pungent smell of onions becomes sweet, add 4 cups of water and cook. If the water in which the wakame was soaked is too salty, discard it and use spring water instead. Add the wakame stems and cook for about 5 minutes. Miso is a fermented puree of a grain or bean. For this soup, we use barley miso because it is the sweetest and is well suited for everyday cooking. Dilute 2 tablespoons of the miso with 3 tablespoons of water. Add the rest of the wakame and tofu and bring the liquid to a boil. Lower the heat, add the diluted miso, and simmer for 5 more minutes. If on hand, garnish with thinly sliced scallions, remove from heat, and serve. Gomashio, or roasted sesame seeds and sea salt, is the most popular macrobiotic condiment. To prepare gomashio, first roast 1 tablespoon of sea salt in a skillet over a medium flame. The salt should be traditionally made natural sea salt. In about 1 or 2 minutes, when the strong smell of sodium chloride dissipates and the salt becomes shiny, remove it from the heat. Place the salt in a ceramic suribachi or mortar. And grind it with a wooden pestle until it becomes a fine powder. Although the macrobiotic diet promotes using less oil and fat than the modern diet, a certain amount is necessary, and a good source of oil is sesame seeds. To prepare the sesame seeds, we must first pick out all visible stones and bad seeds. In the United States, the recommended proportion for making gomashio is 1 part salt to 16 or 18 parts sesame seeds. It should, however, be adjusted according to each person's individual needs. For older people and young children, we increase the proportion of sesame seeds. Place the seeds in a flat-bottomed container and cover with water. Drain floating particles from the water and repeat this procedure 2 or 3 times. Then pour fresh water onto the seeds again and strain. While repeating this process, heavy dust will be separated from the seeds. Now roast the washed sesame seeds in a heated frying pan over medium heat. For even roasting, the seeds should still be wet. While roasting, push the seeds back and forth in the pan with a rice paddle or wooden spoon and shake the pan occasionally to avoid burning. After several minutes, you'll know the seeds are done when they begin to pop quickly and are easily crushed between your thumb and ring finger. They will turn golden brown and emit a strong, nutty fragrance. Place the seeds in the surabachi containing the salt and slowly grind in an even circular motion until the seeds are 80% crushed. Allow the gomashio to cool after you've finished grinding it. Store it in an airtight glass or ceramic container. There is no need to refrigerate. Amazake is a beverage made from fermented grain. It has a delicate natural sweetness. When you crave a sweet taste, Amazake is recommended rather than fruit. It is primarily used to sweeten puddings, pies, cakes, and breads. For this demonstration, we will use pre-made Amazake, which is available at health food stores. To make pudding, heat 2 cups of Amazake over a medium flame. Dissolve 2 tablespoons of kudzu starch with a half cup of cold water. Kudzu is the main thickener in macrobiotic cooking. The proportion of Amazake and kudzu will differ depending on the thickness, flavor, and texture you wish to achieve. For example, too much kudzu makes the pudding hard and less sweet. From the time you start cooking kudzu, you must stir it constantly in order to prevent lumps. When the kudzu becomes transparent, it is done. This usually takes 2 to 3 minutes after boiling. Add a pinch or 2 of grated ginger and mix well. Place the mixture in small dessert dishes or bowls. When it is cooled, the pudding will thicken. Garnish with slivered walnuts, almonds, or a lemon peel. Serve hot or cool.